Hello, citizens of the internet. My name is AJ. I am the AtoZ artist. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm uploading on a different day than normal. Today is Monday, May 25th, aka Memorial Day in America. So to all of my viewers that have served in the military in any fashion, thank you for your service. Today's video has nothing to do with Memorial Day, sadly, but I just thought I'd give that shout out. I decided to post today on Monday because with me returning to work, I'm working part-time, so in order to kind of fit that schedule a little bit better, I wanted to give myself more time over the weekend to work and post the video. Posting on Sundays, I got to the point where I couldn't use the full day to work on what I was doing. I could only work about half the day and then still have time to render the videos and edit and put everything up on YouTube. My internet's not the best, so sometimes it takes a video a little bit long to get up there. So I wanted to start posting on Mondays now. That's kind of my plan going forward, is to keep posting on Mondays. Expect that my videos will be coming out on Mondays now, probably around 10 o'clock, noonish. Going forward, that is the plan. So today, what we have going on is something I saw a few other YouTubers doing. Nothing recently, but I just thought it would be fun for me to do in general. The name of my channel is the AtoZ Artist, and the challenge I want to do is called the ABC Challenge, otherwise known as the A to Z Challenge. So I figured that was kind of fitting for me. ABC Challenge is essentially just going through the alphabet, starting at A, going to Z, and finding characters to fit each of the letters. For the letter A, for example, you find characters that start with letter A and draw them. The idea was, from what I've seen on channels like Drawing with Waffles and stuff like that, they usually only draw one character. Me, in order to give myself a little more opportunity to draw more during the week and also to give myself more to talk about in the video, I decided to do 4. Technically I did like 6 and 7 in this video, but you'll see as I go on, my big focus this week was composition and storytelling and what I was doing. So a lot of the stuff is a lot of these little fan art pieces are more complicated than just the single character shots that some other YouTubers have done with this challenge. So at this point, I think I'm kind of hitting some rambling about everything that's going on. I just wanted to do this challenge. It seemed like a lot of fun. Wanted to do some fan art this week. So I hope you enjoy my ABC challenge. If you do, be sure to hit the like button down below. If you like what you see, go check my other videos out. Hit subscribe. Leave a comment. Every week I do a question of the week that you can answer down below, and yeah, let's get into it. So first up this week for the ABC challenge, since we're starting with letter A, I decided to go with Amara from Borderlands 3. Borderlands as a series is probably my favorite video game series of all time. It's kind of pushed out by Uncharted a little bit, an action adventure title, but Borderlands 3, the first-person shooter comedy extravaganza, literally over the top on everything it does, is probably my favorite video game series. It's definitely up there. And so I wanted to draw the character I played through the last game with. My dad and I usually play the Borderlands games through split screen, and with him I played as a character named Flak, a robot beast tamer character. For my own personal playthrough, though, the one that I finished the game, I played as Amara, and I loved Amara. She was such a fun character to play as. I mean, she combined kind of my two favorite tropes, the bruiser character that just punches everything in a first-person shooter world, which makes absolutely no sense, but in that way is really badass. And then, on the other hand, she's also the wizard character, being a siren. Sirens in the Borderlands universe are essentially space wizards. They gain this magical superpower from something. It's never really fully explained in the series, but there's only 6 alive at any one time. And so you encounter these characters throughout the game series, and most of them are typical like magic wielder kind of trope classes. Like Maya from the last game creates this magical sphere that can trap enemies, and Lilith from the first game can turn invisible, and there's been a few other important sirens, but Amara's siren ability lets her summon giant magical fists that she can throw at enemies, and that's just so cool. I mean, some people complained about the character design options in Borderlands 3. I think character design is some of their best work. Maybe not all of it, but some of the items they decided to add to characters and stuff like that are just fantastic. Amara is just an example of that, and I think it was such a cool idea to just make a punching wizard, I guess is the best way to say it. Going through this design process for the piece, I really wanted to showcase that physicality of her character with a little bit of magical flair. I usually use the more physical-based skill trees of her character, focusing more on melee damage and stuff like that when I was playing the game, and so I wanted to focus on that aspect of her character because that's the one that I could relate to most. At the same time, I really wanted to push my anatomy knowledge, my anatomy and composition knowledge. I really have felt a little bit stagnated with my understanding of anatomy lately. I draw a lot of characters standing straight up and down, very stoic and static and uninteresting. So I wanted to work on some poses, and as I've said before on this channel, my kind of end goal is to get into comics in some way, and so to try and push that in this piece a little bit more, I wanted to give an action feel, like she's just punched the psycho, and put it right in the moment. I could push it a little bit more, I feel like, for this piece. There is a little bit of staticness, but I'm really happy with the direction I pushed this. As I said, it's just something I wanted to work on. I've been wanting to work on for so long. And I think that's where fan art comes in. People really put fan art down, partially because sometimes that's all people do. But it's more power to you. If you enjoy drawing a thing, draw that thing. I'm not going to tell you to not draw fan art just because people look down on it, you know? It's not really a profitable way to go, per se. You can't sell all your fan art. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. If you enjoy it, enjoy it. But that being said, fan art really comes into play for most artists, because I think the problem we run into designing our own characters is that we get too precious with them, that we get to the point where we want to show off their character design elements, because we worked really hard on them, and so we worked really hard on these character designs. We want to show off every little detail, and so we put them in poses that show off those details, but sometimes that gets in the way of actual interesting artistic moments, you know? It gets in the way of storytelling, so doing stuff like fan art gets to the point where we can actually doing stuff like fan art allows us to have that base character design already. We have stuff to work off of, so you don't have to focus as much on designing the character type. You're allowed to play more with physicality, you're allowed to play more with posing and anatomy and storytelling and composition in a way that you can kind of forego when you're working with your own characters, unless you've worked with that character for a long time. But sometimes it just frees you up just to do more storytelling in your pieces or expand in your repertoire. Plus, if you're doing fan art, you're passionate about something. Those pieces are going to be better for that reason. If you're just forced to draw something, you're not going to enjoy the process necessarily. So doing fan art, you're allowed to be super passionate about all of this different stuff that you're drawing, and so it's going to make a better product. Jake Parker had a very interesting video. If you don't know his channel, I'll put a link down below in the description, where he talked about that exact thing. fan art is an important step in every artist's journey. I mean, you can't just forego it. I mean, to be fair, comic books, the thing I want to get into is kind of professional fan art. And that's kind of awesome. I mean, if you're on a Batman comic, you're drawing Batman every day, you're creating fan art, essentially, but it's sponsored by the company. So fan art has its place in the community. I would never deny that. So do your fan art, do you have your fun. Just understand that it's also a step in your growth, I think is the best way to put it. So yeah, that's my piece on fan art. I kind of went off on a ramble about that, but I don't know, it's something I'm passionate about. Here's my Amara piece. Sorry about the rambling, but let's get into the next. So next up is a character popularized by Jason Momoa. And I'm going to sound like a total hipster because I kind of liked Aquaman before Jason Momoa, but Jason Momoa definitely made it way cooler. So I started reading comics with DC's New 52 imprint. That was their big reboot of the DC universe in 2011. It changed the history of the DC universe to an extent. Some characters didn't change too much, some changed drastically. And it allowed for creators to tell new stories with these characters that weren't based in the history. It was basically supposed to be a starting point for new readers. Had its problems, had its really high points. One of those high points, in my opinion, was the Aquaman story. And so I really wanted to push that in this piece because I love Aquaman. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. And I think people don't give him enough credit for the really cool stuff he can do. I mean, yes, he talks to fish. Who cares about that? Who wouldn't want to talk to a great white shark and tell him not to eat you? But at the end of the day, he's also an emperor of an entire undersea kingdom. He has an army at his beck and call. He is fantasy badass to the highest parameters. I don't see why people don't give him more credit for what he is. He's just such an interesting character. And yes, he talks to fish, but again, there are so many things deep below the ocean that people don't know about even. There are creatures down there that we just don't recognize or know about. And so that's such a cool idea. A person that can communicate with those creatures and understand and know what's deepest below the ocean. That was kind of the first story arc in the New 52, was him dealing with the trench and how these deep undersea creatures. I did lose some of the coloring and rendering of this piece, but overall I'm really happy with it. So let's get to the next one with this piece. I had originally intended the composition to be very different. I decided to show my nerdiness for Star Wars because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I love Star Wars to pieces. I can watch the movies and Clone Wars and everything over and over and over again, which shows why I decided to do this piece, because I started to work my way through Clone Wars. I'm like 3/4 of the way through season 2 to get to where they have to try and finish the series since they just finished it themselves. So I'm really interested in seeing where the story goes. So I decided to draw two of my favorite characters, Ahsoka and Asajj Ventress. Now, I originally had planned for this to be a fight scene between the two of them. Ahsoka was coming down to attack Asajj. I couldn't really figure out a way to get that to look right, so I just decided to do kind of a cool back-to-back, like, hero moment, like these two finally started to work together kind of feeling. And I learned that in some of the episodes they did actually have to fight together, so it kind of fit thematically. Plus, near the end of her stint, Asajj Ventress becomes a bit of like an anti-hero kind of character. I read a book called Dark Disciple, which was written by one of the writers of the show. It was originally meant to be an episode in the show, but they just couldn't. They canceled the series before she could air it. But that series focused on Quinlan Vos and Asajj, and Asajj is essentially trying to kill Count Dooku for his wrongdoings. And so I decided. Since then, I really liked Asajj Ventress. She's always been a really cool character. And Ahsoka herself, I mean, she was trained by Darth Vader before he was Darth Vader, so there's some really cool elements to her character, especially when she shows up in like Rebels and stuff like that. The idea of even her lightsabers is so cool. I mean, in Rebels, when she comes back, she has two white lightsabers. The lightsabers in Star Wars all have very unique and interesting meanings. The red lightsabers, for example, are corrupted. A Sith or a Dark Force user will steal another person's lightsaber crystal and make it bleed, it's called. And it forces the crystal to turn red and exude dark energy. And the white crystals that Ahsoka has are a healed red crystal. They're crystals that are they are crystals that the Jedi has taken and freed from its corruption, so they turn white. And based on her storytelling, based on the idea of who Ahsoka is and who her master was, and even if she didn't know that Darth Vader was Anakin at first. Spoiler alert for a 50-year-old story reveal. Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader. Whoa. Anyway, even though she doesn't know Anakin is Darth Vader at first, trying to be there for her master and trying to heal his darkness. I think that's such a good, interesting theme for this character, and the fact that her character design echoes that is such a fun fan aspect for fans. And I think the creators just did such a good job with her character in general. She has such a, of the characters in Clone Wars, she has the most complete character arc. She has the most growth, and I'm happy with this piece. I think the overall composition and anatomy are fine. The problem I have with it is the dust cloud in the background. I don't know where that came from. There's no real story reason. It just kind of seemed like a good fight scene element, and I don't know why. There's no real reason for that dust cloud to be there, but I needed something in the background. And I didn't want to draw a bunch of little tiny battle droids fighting them. So, sorry, running a little bit low on time. I just didn't have the time to do it. So, I hope you enjoy my Ahsoka and Asajj, and this. This next character coming up is the star of probably my favorite video game of all time. I've said that kind of in the past about Neo, and Borderlands is one of my favorite series, but this game is actually legitimately my favorite video game of all time. It is Okami. It originally came on the PS2. It's been remastered for everything. I think I've gotten it for everything. I've played it so many times. I enjoy this game to pieces. Okami, you play the Japanese goddess of the sun, Amaterasu. She's lost all of her powers, and you have to spend the rest of the game regaining them to help her fight Orochi and other demonic forces in the Japanese world at this time period. It's such a well-told story. The entire focus of the game is artistry. I mean, the entire art style of the game is the Japanese ukiyo-e art prints. The very ink-heavy kind of design, in that very stylized approach to design and all that. So the art style is fantastic. Plus, her main power in the game is the Celestial Brush, this white wolf that represents Amaterasu. Her tail is the Celestial Brush, which allows her to draw on the world and create things through that. And being an artist and loving art from a young age, it was one of those things that is just so fascinating to me. I loved the idea of just drawing on the world and creating weapons and creating a way to fight back and all that, and manipulating the world around me through the use of that kind of magic. And it's definitely something that has always stuck with me, and one of the reasons why I keep playing the game over and over and over again. I decided to illustrate Amaterasu fighting Orochi, who is kind of the big bad of Okami, and also one of the big bads of Japanese mythology in general. It's just an 8-headed serpent monster. In the game, they're more dragon-y kind of serpents, but in this one, I actually wanted to kind of illustrate snakes, just to kind of push my understanding of animal anatomy. I'm not as happy with the flames on Amaterasu's back. That's my Amaterasu piece, and I'll let you kind of finish the time lapse, and we'll get to my final thoughts. My video for this week. Again, happy Memorial Day. I mean, I'm kind of dating this video by saying that, but at the same time, I think no matter what day of the year it is, it's a good thing to thank our soldiers, our armed forces, for the work that they do. No matter what branch or what you do in the military, what you do matters, and so thank you for that. For this piece, I mean, overall, I was incredibly happy with everything that happened, with everything I did with it, because I pushed myself. Not everything is perfect. Some of the effects aren't great, but some of those effects, this was the first time I've tried to do something like that, and that, for me, is important. I feel like I've stagnated and plateaued kind of with my art, but as of last week, doing my kind of redraws of my characters, again, check out the rest of my channel if you are interested in my videos, I got to the point where I kind of understood how far I've come, and that allowed me to feel like I should take another step. And so that's what I did this week. I tried to push my sense of anatomy, my sense of composition and storytelling, and all wrapped up in a very fun fan art challenge. So since this is only the first letter of the alphabet, I plan on doing these fairly regularly, for me at least. Since I post a video a week, I probably will do one of these a month, just to get them out, maybe the last day of the month until we get to Z. So thank you again very much for watching. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you like my channel, leave a comment down below. My question of the week this week: what are your favorite video games of all time? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Be safe, be kind, and have a little fun this week. Bye! Shake out the willies. Yeah.